5 minutes. So then I'll call the meeting to order. Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I hope that you're well. And so I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Legislators Burtis.
Here.
May. May.
Here.
Rowley.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
McBride.
Here.
Williams. Irvin.
Present.
6 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Let's move to A, reading of the minutes, unless you have a motion to waive.
Move.
Move it. Second.
Yep, have a first by Leader May, second by Leader Irvin. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Passes. B, approval of the minutes from the preceding meeting, unless we have a vote to waive. Motion.
Move.
Leader Irvin, second. Leader May. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. C, presentation of resolutions and local laws. Number 1. Who's here to present that? Brian Donnelly? Maybe?
Tim, how are you?
Hey, good, thank you.
So I'm very pleased to present this morning a resolution appointing Carl Hummel as Commissioner of Personnel. This will be to complete a term that expires on March of 2022. I think everyone here to some degree has worked with Carl over the years. He's been in the personnel department for over 10 years now. He was appointed acting commissioner in July of 2020. Carl and his team have done great work throughout the pandemic. They were able to conclude a contract with CSEA. They put together an early retirement initiative, worked with the comptroller's office and IT department to get a new payroll system up and running. Has also done an upgrade for Kronos and has brought in a new system, eGov, to administer civil service administration. Again, Carl's done a great job. His team has done a great job during the pandemic. We're pleased to present this to you. Carl is here today if you have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Carl's done a great job, and appreciate him and all the work that he's done there, and for considering this appointment as commissioner. He also happens to be a great resident of Onondaga County in the 3rd District, so we're happy about that. Questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Carl's done a good job with the pandemic. My concern is going forward, what kind of job Carl is going to do. In terms of the kind of hiring we started doing rather, about diversifying our staff. I want to make certain that that's going to be the thrust of what goes on with Carl as a commissioner going forward. Dwayne was doing a great job with that before he left, and I would hate to see us go backwards on that path that we're taking. So my biggest question is, will Carl be doing those kinds of things going forward?
Go ahead, Carl.
Okay. The simple answer is absolutely. I've been working very closely with Monica Williams and with Sue Stanzik on creating a more robust diversity program. Our numbers, even during the pandemic when we were doing and leading up to it, our numbers in diversity and diversity hiring have been good. They will continue to stay high. We're going to continue the work that was done previous to me taking over as acting commissioner and going forward. Absolutely, I'm fully committed to that.
Thank you. Also, in terms of complaints and whatnot within the staff that we already have, I'm hoping that the same approach will be being taken there as well, Carl.
I'm not sure what you mean by with regard to complaints.
Well, there have been some employees that in various departments that have been complaining about the way things are happening there. The biggest example is WEP. And so my concern is, will we be taking an approach to help mediate the kinds of things that are being done over at WEP?
Oh, absolutely. We investigate every complaint that we get, and we take everything seriously. We're obligated to investigate everything, but we do take them seriously, and we will see them through to conclusion. We have recently, in this department, we've been operating for quite some time without the amount of staff we need to do the job. But we've recently hired 2 employee relations officers. We have Dawn, who's now been here for a year. We're both working to get them trained up. The departments will get the services they need, particularly when it comes to complaints and investigating them.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the committee?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
thank you. Carl, since I joined the legislature, Carl Hummel has been sort of the common denominator linked to the support and that I've needed along the way, that the legislature's needed along the way, linked to results that we've wanted to achieve. He's been a great partner in that regard. And as far as the Office of Personnel, he's been the technical he shouldered the technical load for quite some time now. And I think this is a very, very deserving appointment. I think it's a good appointment, and I support it wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Moved.
Leader May, is there a second?
I'll second.
Legislator Rowley, second. Can we call the roll, please?
Legislators Burtis,
Yes.
May,
Yes.
Rowley,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Williams, Irvin.
Yes.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
Thank you. And thank you, Carl. Appreciate it. Hope you have a
Thank you
good day.
all.
Thank you. All right, moving on to 2, Soil and Water Conservation District, confirming the appointment of Jesse Lyons. Who's here for that?
Chairman, I'll take that one.
Yeah, Matt, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, my honor to sponsor this resolution to appoint Jesse Lyons to the Soil and Water Conservation District Board. This is actually the county executive's appointment, but I've known Jesse for a long, long time. Many of you have heard of the Brady Farm, 6 acres on the south side of the city. That's doing just absolutely tremendous things down there. And her involvement in the community is tremendous. And her commitment to agriculture, both urban and up in the countryside where it's traditional, are unwavering. I know the folks out at Soil and Water are very excited to have her come on board, and I think she'll be a wonderful addition.
Thank you. Are there any questions, any comments? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Leader May, or second?
Second.
Leader Irvin, thank you. Can we call the roll, please?
Legislators Burtis,
Yes.
May,
Yes.
Rowley,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Irvin.
Yes.
6 ayes, none opposed.
Thank you. Congratulations, Jesse. Thank you. Number 3, Finance Division, requesting New York State to amend Section 931. Mr. Morgan, I would imagine this is yours.
I think I was going to take that, Chairman, if you don't mind.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm pleased. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. So the purpose of this legislation is to asked New York State to amend the real property tax law to allow banks to make a single payment for all of their property owners. This would be the first step in asking them to amend state law to do that. Currently, almost half of parcels are paid through escrow, and allowing them to pay counties directly instead of the individual towns and schools and villages would greatly simplify the way that property tax is administered throughout the state of New York, not just here in our county. So that's the purpose of this legislation. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you. I have a question as far as, so I understand and I agree, it sounds great, but I'm assuming then that what's the procedure? What are they going to do for giving a breakdown of that very large check?
So it'd be similar to the way we handle it now. We have banks, every bank is a code, so we send them computer files and they know which parcels they need to pay. They send us a file back saying, we're paying these 1,000 property owners, here's a check for $1 million. We're able to mark them all paid and then receipt them automatically rather than going to each individual town. The towns and the villages and the school districts all have turnover, so it's cumbersome for the hundreds or thousands of banks to make those payments to every individual entity. They can make them to a single county. There's only 60 counties they need to know the information for, and then we know, because we have a consolidated database, how much money goes to each town, village, or school. We're able to kind of apportion that out.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Are there other questions, comments? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll move it, Mr. Chairman.
Legislator Rowley is first. Is there a second?
A second, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you. Legislator McBride, can we call a roll, please?
Legislators Burtis,
Yes.
May,
Yes.
Rowley,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Irvin.
Yes.
6 ayes, none opposed.
Very good. Thank you.
Chairman Burtis?
Yes.
It's Legislator Ryan, if I may. I know that is finance gonna stay on? I'm assuming they are. I just have a couple questions after the agenda about some sales tax revenue and stuff ending the books in 2020 here. Just want to make sure they're going to stay on.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, if they would stay on,
Okay.
that'd be good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, Jim.
Yeah. So on to number 4, Health Department. I believe. Well, go ahead. Whoever's going to take this, go ahead.
Legislator Burtis, it's Julie. I will take this. And I believe Dr. Gupta is on as well to answer questions. So the health department needs authorization from us to hire a lab director for the Forensic Science Center. We haven't had a lab director since October due to the person stepping down. There's been an interim, and this is one of those positions that it's so specialized. There's not a pool of candidates. There's not a puddle, there's like a raindrop. So I know that the district attorney's office as well, along with the health commissioner, were very excited about the candidate that they have. It doesn't really impact the budget because it's already budgeted for, and it's actually a savings. It's around $140,000 position. And there is a female candidate who not only has her master's in science, but she also has an MBA because it is a managerial position. She's, from what I understand, highly qualified.
Great. Dr. Gupta, did you want to say anything else? Add to that, or?
Yes, sorry. Good morning, everyone. So as Chairwoman Julie Abbott-Keenan has explained, is that this is a very highly qualified candidate. This is a very specialized lab. We have, the lab has many scientists actually, total of 35 support staff, and majority of them are scientists. We have many different disciplines there. This candidate is very, I mean, her expertise is in the area of evidence intake, biology, DNA, controlled substance, toxicology, fingerprints, firearm, digital evidence, and crime scene pretty much is the whole sum. The other added advantage is that we have acquired an electronic database a year or so ago, Qualtrics. It's a quality management system, which is used for accreditation, document management, and reporting. And she's very qualified, actually, is pretty much expert in that area. So that adds up. Furthermore, our lab is accredited lab, nationally accredited, very recognized lab. And this candidate is actually a sort of accreditation specialist on top of it, and mentors other labs who want to be accredited. So we certainly want to take this opportunity to have this candidate be our lab director, and for the somewhat long term, not in short term. We do have interim director, and if you have any questions, I think just something we can answer further. And certainly, along with the district attorney's office, we felt that this was the best suitable candidate. I will be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Are there any questions? Questions, comments for 4A? Well, thank you, Dr. Gupta, for being here this morning and for the great job that you and your staff are doing. We certainly do appreciate it very much.
Thank you for your support.
Yeah, you have our support for sure. 4A, can I have a motion then?
Chairman, I'll move it.
All right, Leader Irvin is first. Is there a second?
I'll second, Chairman.
Thank you. Legislator Ryan, could we call the roll, please?
Legislators Burtis,
Yes.
May,
Yes.
Rowley,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Irvin.
Yes.
6 ayes, none opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and you have a good day.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I interrupt you? Verona's been trying to get in. Verona's been trying to get in. He has the wrong link. Can someone please help him with that?
Yes. Very good. Yes, let's move on to 5. Hillbrook Detention Facility. Sorry, who's here to present that?
Damian Pratt. Good morning.
Good morning, Damian. Thank you. Go ahead.
And good morning, members of the legislature. This morning, we're requesting the approval to move forward with the creation of a total of 17 positions necessary to staff the soon-to-be finished renovations at Hillbrook. It was a $5 million capital project to increase the facility's capacity from 32 beds to 50 beds. You know, as you all know, with the raise the age legislation statewide, there's been a greater need for capacity for detention beds, with 16 and 17-year-olds no longer being able to be housed in adult facilities like the Justice Center. Currently, we're at capacity. While we all know that the facility was adequate for Onondaga County youth, we are one of only 6 detention facilities in New York State outside of New York City, and have really used supplementing out-of-county residents to really balance out our budget. So the request is for those 17 positions. Primarily, those are for, you know, supervising positions over youth directly. There are also a few positions to increase the capacity for both our educational and social work services.
Great. Thank you. Are there any questions or any comments for 5A?
Chairman Burtis, it's instead of Ryan, I have a couple, just a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, a question, but before a question, I gotta make a statement. So I definitely want to commend the staff up there and also this expansion. You know, this was a conversation we were having a couple years ago. Well, a couple years ago when Raise the Age came through, and we were out in front of it for certain. And we put that addition, we applied the additional resources, and now we are in a position to take out of county kids, which I guess in its concept isn't a good thing, but to the extent that we're going to be able to house them is a good thing. So I want to commend the staff up there. Certainly, I saw Ann Rooney on, and I know that there was a lot of involvement with that. So I want to give a little, kudos there. But specifically about the positions, Damien, I know, so we're adding beds for 18, right? So that would be some 32 to 50. But I'm just concerned that we're only adding one teacher, right? So I don't know if the staffing of the teaching and or the TAs would coincide with the potential addition of headcount up there, right? So I know that there's, educational opportunities. It's, those are state mandates and they have to have their, I guess I'm just worried or a little concerned. So the question is, how many teachers do we have up there now?
Currently, we have 5 teachers. The reason that there's only one teaching position being added is because of one additional classroom being added. That's on the new orientation wing. So the concept of that one expansion is it's an 8-bed unit with a dedicated lounge and classroom. The concept is newly admitted youth are assigned to that particular unit. We have a few days to kind of learn about who they are, where they might fit well into the building. In those first few days, sometimes we see young people released either because they're released on their own recognizance or they make bail. After that initial period of time, they'll be integrated into one of the other units. But we really feel that while, one teacher will be able to be assigned and stationed to that particular classroom, and that will be sufficient.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that assessment, right? So I know that we spend a significant amount of money in the expectation that we would have 50 beds full, but I don't think we're staffing accordingly. So if we have 5 teachers for 32, that's 6, give or take 6 inmates, 6 kids, right, per teacher. But yet we're only going to add 1 for additional 18 without any TAs. I don't know. I would say that we're probably going to need some additional teachers there. Maybe, I don't know. Listen, I don't want to say, I'm just looking at it from this specific. I mean, I don't know about all the grades that creates the, all the other titles. I'm just saying from an educational standpoint. I know that they have vocational services that they offer, which are great. And I know that there's individual learning plans and the such. So I guess that's my concern. I would like to see, I think we're going to need some additional headcount. I would like to see some additional creates for teachers there, or at least 1 or 2 teachers additional and a teaching assistant to help out. But because we do have do we have TAs there?
We do not, no.
Okay. Oh, I thought we did. Okay.
We have 2 child care workers that do have TA certificates. So we utilize them as TAs, but I wouldn't say they're dedicated TA positions. I mean, the other element to this, and Legislator Ryan, I really appreciate, expressing the importance of the education services in the building. We had our first resident obtain a high school regents diploma earlier this month, which was a big accomplishment for us. Between having this older population, we are still learning quite a bit. We've got vocational programs that we've started, especially for the youth that are above the compulsory age of education. but we are really still learning a lot. The facility several years ago had residents with an average length of stay of several weeks. And now the majority of our residents are with us for much longer periods of time. So the way that we're approaching really all aspects of service within the facility, educational, psychiatric, it is something that we're constantly learning and evolving in, needing to supplement with a higher level of education staff might be something that's going to be important for us moving forward. We're really trying to, we're going through a lot of learning through this process.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, listen, we got ourselves into a little bit of trouble, right, with educational opportunities, but so I don't want to see that. So okay, well, I've said it. Thanks. Appreciate it, Dan.
Thank you. Other questions, other comments?
Chairman?
Yeah, is that Leader May?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Yep.
So obviously, this is something we have to do. We've been investing and really talking about this, raise the age, since 2018. A lot of time, money, people, to the legislators, Ryan's many points. It's a very dynamic situation, and with lots of dynamic needs that we have an obligation to fulfill. It's a learning process. What it really hasn't been up until late last week was a communications process. So I'm trying to catch up, as I'm sure my colleagues are. And it's, that is what it is. I think one of the best things we did when Raise the Age first came up and became a real issue that we needed to respond to was the contingency strategy. And I'm not suggesting we do that today. I'm not suggesting anything, as a matter of fact, but we used a contingency strategy to gain a sort of collaborative understanding. Ledge, administration, you, Damien, at Hillbrook, which, by the way, you're doing a great job, and I appreciate that. That contingency strategy was a great way for us to pragmatically respond, comply. We really didn't miss a beat as a result, and we did what's right. We didn't panic, oh my goodness, all these laws are coming down on us and we need to do all of these things and spend all of this money right now today. And I know we spend responsibly in Onondaga County. That's not the issue either. Again, this is something we need to do. And I feel like this particular situation overlooks or is sort of, and I'm not blaming any person here, it's inconsiderate of our overarching responsibilities as a legislative body. So we're moving super fast. We've received some information, and I personally am trying to play catch up with it. I think there's a lot more I want to understand. At the same time, I also want to, because I understand the need to do so, comply with the expectations that are before Onondaga County. And I want to do it without missing a beat, just as we did last time. So I feel as though the presentation focuses pretty heavily on a net neutral budget impact, which, I guess that's great from an Onondaga County standpoint. But also we need to take into consideration as a legislative body that the money's got to come from somewhere. So these are tax dollars funding these positions, and it's a significant add. Again, something we have to do, but I would want to understand what we're doing and why a little better. I'd like to have a little more detail on some of the things up front, Damien. I would tell you that, I kind of would like, you gave us and this is kind of weird. I got a document that shows some aggregate populations and needs budgetarily. But what it didn't show me was like population per day. I scanned it, and interestingly, over the weekend, I went to look at the file again and it was corrupt. I can't look at it. So I had a one-shot look at the data you provided. I'd like to know, where we are on a per day basis in terms of population. I'd like to know what your forecast is the day you cut the ribbon on the expansion. I'd like to know what your forecast is maybe a year down the road. Again, I'm not suggesting contingency here. I'm suggesting pragmatism and just a solid understanding for why we vote. I think this is moving so fast that it fails to consider the bigger picture that I personally would like to have a better understanding of, and maybe even some of my colleagues would have the same opinion. But I think we really should go through that step. But Chairman, I'd ask that we not stop progress, but we don't necessarily vote today. This is just me asking. We don't vote today to maybe get some of these questions clarified for us. But again, I'm just one person asking, but I feel pretty strongly about it. If I were to vote today, I probably just wouldn't, I'd abstain. So anyways, those are my comments. I wish this was a little more considerate. I wish there was some more communication going in, because I like to take informed votes. And lastly, for many of the reasons Legislator Ryan just mentioned, and many, many, many more, the cost of Hillbrook to taxpayers, not county taxpayers, but taxpayers in general, is exponentially higher than any other either incarceration, education, youth facility we have. So, taking that into perspective, or having that in perspective, is super important too. And that's why I'd just like to understand the decision a little better. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
So, Chairman, can I comment?
Sure, go ahead.
Legislator May, I hear your concerns, and in a typical year, there is no doubt that all these positions would have been for your consideration during the normal budget process. What we didn't know when we embarked on the budget process is what the status of the contractor's performance would be because of COVID. So we were really in an unsure state at that point, and that's why we didn't put the positions in the budget, not knowing if construction was going to come to a halt because of COVID concerns. We got lucky in the fact, I guess you could say we got lucky, but the contractor has performed on budget and on time, which during the fall, we weren't sure was going to be the case. This is when cases were spiking and everything else was going on. So if anyone is at fault for this, fault rests right with me, because it was really a conscious decision not to include these positions in the budget, not knowing if we were going to complete construction this year. So we have gotten to that point, and Damien and I have been talking about when is the most likely time that this is going to be complete. And one of the other things, as you know, we are 100% dependent on New York State to approve the building, give us the licensure we need between OCFS and the Commission on Corrections. And the indications from them are that the construction looks good. I encourage all of you to go up to see it. But it came at us, and they were able to complete it much more quickly than we thought. And so that's, I think, where the disconnect came in, because in a typical process, you would have seen these ads in the budget for this year. And so please, if you're looking at anybody to have the discussion about what happened with that communication, it's certainly me and not Damien. But the other part is we looked at putting these in now, and it takes time to hire. There's no doubt about it. There's requirements with all these positions. And if we're looking at opening the doors in June, that is why we need these positions now to start that process of hiring. And so there are a number of vacant positions that we're able to take advantage of, but these are the new creates that we need in order to have that robust programming. I think the biggest thing that, I'm sorry that your file got corrupted. That isn't ever good. But at the bottom, you can see, this is something that we all agreed to invest in with Raise the Age. As Damien has pointed out, we're one of only 6 detention facilities outside of New York City. And yes, they are absolutely all tax dollars, no matter the source. But for an Onondaga County taxpayer, we know that their care day cost is much lower than what other counties have to pay us in order to have a youth held at Hillbrook. So I think what this does, and I think one thing that would be fantastic to do is have as many of at least the health committee and all of you who would like to go up and see the renovations, that this is really going to make a difference for safety, all of those concerns that we have. And again, I'm happy to go through all of this, but really it was a timing issue because of COVID.
Thank you, Ann. And I'll just point out, I was very, very careful not to make this a personal indictment of anyone in particular. It just speaking to the situation, okay? Yep. And I get all the distractions all of us have had in the past year. It's been crazy. In my mind, it doesn't change the questions I have. And again, I'm not saying, hey, let's put this in contingency and slow it down or whatever. What I'm saying is, here we are. This is something we've already committed to. By the way, I've heard wonderful things about the expansion. I heard it's great. But we got to vote, favorably for this. And I intend to. I want to check some boxes and understand some things a lot better than I do now. So that's all. Nothing else. Just want to get a better understanding before we move forward. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Leader May. Thank you, Ann. Other questions, other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Legislator Rowley.
A couple questions, and I share Leader May's concerns. I'd like to understand this a little bit better as well. So and maybe these questions that I have, just a handful, will go along those lines. The 17 positions that we're creating, will this fully staff Hillbrook at this point, or are we anticipating more?
No, this would fully staff Hillbrook.
Okay. And again, I just want to understand this better. Raise the Age kids, are those are kids coming through the criminal justice system as opposed to family court? Is that a fair statement?
No, it's both criminal court and family court. It's essentially any 16 or 17-year-old that previously would have been detained at the Justice Center. So those could be 16 or 17-year-olds charged with felony offenses through this newly created youth part of criminal court. It could also be for 16 and 17-year-olds with misdemeanor offenses through family court. You don't really have any young people on misdemeanor level offenses, but what we do see happen from time to time is a 16 or 17-year-old charged with a felony whose case might start in criminal court. There's a mechanism for removal to family court. So some of those youth on more serious offenses that can't stay in criminal court and have their matters removed, we still do house them. But it's really 16 and 17-year-olds. Predominantly what we see here in Onondaga County is those youth with felony level offenses.
So is the Raise the Age costs, are those still 100% reimbursable from the state?
Correct.
But my understanding is if a kid comes through family court and is housed up at Hillbrook, we only get 49% state aid.
Only if
we would get 100%. Are we paid based on the based on the child, or are we, or how's that? How are we reimbursed? Are we reimbursed our costs?
So 16 and 17-year-olds, whether they're in criminal court or family court, are all 100% reimbursed as long as the offense that was allegedly committed happened prior or after they've turned 16. The way that, and I don't know if someone from financial operations could probably explain it better than I could, but essentially the sum of all our costs are entered into a system with New York State Office of Children and Family Services. all our expenses and our operating budget go into that system. And then it's divided up by care days. So our rate actually fluctuates. The daily rate is something that's reevaluated every quarter. We have two separate rates. So we have rates for youth that are being housed in specialized secure detention. Those raised the age youth. And then a separate rate for traditional secure detention youth, our prior population to raise the age. So we're essentially running two separate detention programs out of one facility. All of those specialized secure detention individuals all have their daily rates reimbursed at 100%, while those that are traditional, secure detention are reimbursed at 49%. However, if we've got an out-of-county resident that's being held in secure detention, those youth, obviously, we get reimbursed at 100% as well, because we're not the county of responsibility.
Okay, so again, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse, I'm trying to establish the link between our costs and reimbursement. I'm understanding that our reimbursement is per head count, not necessarily following our costs. Is that a fair statement or no?
Jim, this is Christy Smiley. It's actually, our expenses go in to calculate that rate. So our expenses are included in that. So as Damian mentioned, we put in actually all of our actual costs for a quarter, submit that to the state. Based on that, then an actual rate gets established for care day. So our expenses do factor into what our actual rate is. So there is a tie back to our actual expenses.
Okay. And again, where I'm going is if Steve Morgan's on the call, he's a smarter man than I am. But I know during the budget for 2021, and please correct me if I'm incorrect, there's a quite a big jump in the local dollars for juvenile justice. And my understanding, the conversation back then was, well, some of it was the mix of kids. We had more kids coming through family court. My understanding at the time anyway, that was a lower rate than raise the age. Something had to do with JD Pins. I don't know how that plays into the local cost of juvenile justice either. But, we add these 17 positions and we're seeing that it's 100% reimbursed. And I'm sitting here trying to understand that. And I'm not coming away with the feeling that, at the end of the day, it may not be 100% reimbursed, depending on the mix of the population and other factors. Anyone help me out there?
Yeah, this is Steve, Jim. Yeah, I mean, it's the bottom line is it's very complicated. The state has made this process, unbelievably complex. Taking forever to approve our plans, taking forever to approve rates. To be quite honest with you, we're still trying to absorb all this information and understand exactly where we are. We are confident that, those increased costs that we've incurred regarding the specific raised age population are being reimbursed. If anything, I think, our traditional detention population may actually even be getting a slightly higher reimbursement rate based on the methodology that the state is using. But make no mistake about it, this is very complex, especially since we're one of the few that operate a detention center. So it's still a work in progress, but I'm confident from our work with the state and our team here locally that our costs are being covered from the raise the age perspective at the level that was promised by the state.
So not to be, not to go over old ground again, I'm just, I tried to prepare for this meeting by looking at, prior budgets and the increase in the local costs last year certainly caught my eye, and I was trying to understand it more. Did JD Pins figure into that as well in the budget?
JD Pins really don't have a tie necessary to Hillbrook. Those are funded separately and outside of how Hillbrook's funded. So JD Pins placement costs our foster care placements are outside of Hillbrook.
Right.
And those are reimbursed based on federal reimbursement if the child's eligible, and then the rest of the costs go against the state block grant, which I believe took a bit of a hit, if I'm not mistaken, and that's maybe why you saw a bump up in the juvenile justice program in Children and Family Services.
Okay.
I'd have to go check that again. I don't recall specifically, but for some reason that's in my mind. But JD Pinn's placement costs are funded completely outside of the Hillbrook funding mechanism.
Okay. Well, if you get a chance, can you just look at the
Yeah, I could look at, you talk about the 2020 budget or the 21 budget?
2021 budget, the local costs jump pretty good.
Yep, I can get your response. I
want to make sure, when we talk about, raise the age being 100% reimbursable, I want to sort of triangulate that somehow and be comfortable that, yeah, they are 100% reimbursable. I can hear you tell me that, but then I also hear it's very complicated, and if all our costs go into a rate, net rates paid on the population, I could probably work out some math where it's probably not totally being 100% reimbursable. But so if you could just get back to me on last year's budget, I would appreciate it. Yeah.
We'll do, Jim.
Thank you.
All right. All right.
Can I piggyback on one of Jim's points here, since it's probably a good time to do it with Steve and Christy here?
Sure.
Thank you. Real quick. Steve or Christy, you said expenses, all expenses. Is that really an all-in statement, meaning, correctional health, education, all those big ticket items that roll in? Is there any facet of of our operating costs, service delivery costs, that are not included or excluded from our expense or the formula?
Are you talking specifically about Hillbrook at this point,
Yeah.
Brian?
Yes.
Yeah, my understanding, again, as Damian explained, the population specific to the raise the age population specifically, a rate is determined, and that rate is reimbursed at 100%. So it includes all associated costs, approvable costs that go into that rate calculation.
Okay. Thank you. So that means correctional health and education and, the big ticket items that are part of.
Correct. The operational costs of Hillbrook, a rate is determined based on those costs and then reimbursed based on the child.
Thank you. Thanks, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Yeah, Steve, is capital built in there as well, or is that reimbursed separately?
I'll let Damon or Christy take that specifically. My understanding is I think the capital is a part of our approved plan, but I don't believe it flows through the operational rate. I think that's reimbursed separately.
Correct. Like the expansion plan is, the expansion was 100%. There are certain capital things that are set dollar amounts that aren't through the normal expenses in the budget.
I don't know if you heard that, but Christy confirmed what I said. There are capital costs that are rolled into the rate, but these capital costs associated with modifying the structure for raise the age is separate and distinct, and is being paid for off, for lack of a better term, offline.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, other comments that you need right here? I intend to leave this right here where it's at, not take a vote. But are there other questions, comments for right now? All right, hearing none, we'll just leave it. Thank you, Damian and Ann. Certainly, Hillbrook does very important work for us. I was there in April of 2019 and really appreciate the people there and the important work that they're doing. So thank you. Please also, if there's going to be communication going around in email form, please include me in on it. I'm interested, but for now, let's leave 5A here as considered. So let's move on to 6, Human Rights Commission, annual report. Who's here for that? Number 6. Anyone? Jamie, do you know?
It should be.
Tim, my apologies. It was my understanding that Monica was going to be here for this. Let me see if I can find out what happened.
All right, thank you, Brian. So let's skip to 7. We could, very good, right there. Informational, who's here for that, or is that Brian as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's just give him a minute.
Unless Carl's still on.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
If you want, I can take that.
Yeah, let's have you take that, Carl, as he's busy. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so as you know, the county executive has sent over the letter on the DSBA contract, just to give you an update as to what the process has been so far. We negotiated with DSBA over a period of months. We're unsuccessful in reaching an agreement. We went into mediation, held 3 sessions in mediation. We're unsuccessful in reaching an agreement, so the matter went to fact finding. The fact finder issued his report, which was attached to the letter that was sent over by the county executive. The county rejected the fact finder's report. The DSBA also rejected the fact finder's report. And just so you're clear on how that works, when it comes to accepting or rejecting a fact finder's report, it has to be done in full. So some of the items in the report you might agree with, but if you don't agree with the whole thing, it's rejected in full. So we had 10 days from the fact finder's report to decide whether or not to refer it to the legislature. We did do that. In the interim, we have attempted to continue to reach an agreement. We've had some back and forth with the union. Friday, we sent over another offer. We have not heard back on that. However, if we aren't able to reach an agreement, certainly it is within your purview to act at that time and impose a contract for 2019, at which point we would start all over again with 2020 forward, negotiating with DSBA.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Legislators, please keep in mind this is informational. No vote's going to be happening here, and this should be a high-level discussion. So, are there questions or comments?
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Procedurally, so there's no vote, but ultimately it's session. I mean, what Carl said, it was in our purview to do this, but we have to do this. Carl, that's the point you're at, is that we need to prepare, we need to set a public hearing and undertake the imposition process as a result of where negotiations are right now.
Yeah, yes, you do. But again, you have the discretion as to when you do that.
Correct. But we have to undertake this.
At some point, you would, if we are unable to resolve this.
Okay, thank you. So, Chairman, we don't need to vote on setting a public hearing?
I'm sorry. Yeah. We're going to call. We're calling for. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're calling for a public hearing.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
So we'll consider this just like we did the previous item, and then that way it can go to session.
Thank
All
you.
right, yes, thank you.
Thank you. I just got a little confused there.
Yeah, I guess so did I. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's on me.
Keep
Chairman?
that part out of the minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
Chairman, if I have, can I just ask one quick question here? So, so procedurally, I think to Leader May's point, right? So so hopefully we don't get to a public hearing, and hopefully we don't have to take action on the fact finders report, because we're hopeful and optimistic that the county and the DSBA can reach an agreement. Carl, is that a fair statement? But if need be, if they don't, and there is some sort of impasse, then we have to consider whether or not to impose a fact finders report. But I don't know if we want to do that. We have to do that. Why would we not want to do that sooner than later, I guess?
You would not be imposing the fact finders report, because the fact finders report includes both economic and non-economic items. The only action that you can take is to impose for 1 year wages only.
Okay.
That's the only thing that you could impose a contract. All other items of the contract would remain the same for that period, and then we would have to go back to the table and start over again. So it would not be the fact finders report you'd be acting on. It would be wages only.
So if they were to go, if we were to get to, quote, I guess if you want to use the word impasse, then the current terms and the terms and conditions of the CBA would be an extension of the previous contract, with the exception of wages and wages only.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right. The 2012 through 2018 contract would remain. All the terms except for wages would remain for 2019. It would be for 1 year. And when we went back to the table, we would be negotiating for terms and conditions from 2020 forward.
And would the and last question, I'm sorry, would the wage rates be what was outlined in the fact finders report with the 1 point, right, for 2020 pay cycle, right?
No, the wages would be what the well, it would be what you impose, but the county executive has recommended that it would be a 0 wage increase for 2019. That's in the letter that the county executive sent over. That's in your packet.
Right, and so the 0, but the summary of recommendations for the fact find report was a 1 1/4, 1 point, so altogether 1.25 for 1 month, for 6 months, 1.25 for 6 months, for a total of 2.5 over the first year of the agreement, right? 2019.
That's what the fact finder recommended, correct?
Okay. Okay. Well, I'd support that, but okay. Okay. Thank you.
Let's just leave it there. All right. So that number 7A has been considered, and thank you, Carl, for taking that.
Sure.
All right. So, Mr. Donnelly, back to 6. How are we doing?
My apologies. We've spoken with Monica over the phone. She's having technical difficulties right now that we're trying to overcome.
All right. That's fine then. Let's leave it there. And it's here. The presentation is here in the minutes. So I appreciate that. We've got to move on.
Mr. Chairman?
So yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for anyone that hasn't had a chance to look at this stuff, it's very good. It's very, very good. I was looking forward to hearing from Monica today, but you know, it's a very short document, very concise. We can easily say that it's been received, and personally, just like to say they did a great job last year. So a lot of my 2 cents today.
Yes,
Chairman.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Knapp.
Yeah, we all received the report electronically, as well as everyone has a hard copy of the report as well in their box. So I recommend we, call this received, and if folks have questions, we can reach out to Monica directly. And please, if you do have questions, please share them with the rest of the legislators, and as well as the answer as well.
Yeah, let's just do that through email, and we appreciate receiving the report.
Mr. Chairman, can I say something about, this is the
Sure.
first time I've seen a report from Human Rights like this, and I think it's a great report, and they've been doing a lot of good work. So I commend Monica Williams on the report and the efforts that are going on over there.
It looks like she just joined.
Okay. Morning, Monica. Are you there?
Good morning. Finally, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. If you could just take a few minutes here, we welcome you here to the meeting, and go ahead.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. I wanted to take this opportunity. I have my Executive Director, Montanette Murphy, here with me. And one thing I want to say is we're very proud of this annual report. It's our first one ever, actually. So I just wanted to read a little statement that I wrote in regards to, and kind of go over the annual report. So I want to take this opportunity to let you know how grateful I am to the commissioners who volunteer their time to serve on the Human Rights Commission. In a time like no other, our nation has seen the civil discord and unrest of peoples whose basic human rights have been violated. It has never become more evident of the importance of the work that this commission has done and will continue to do. The Human Rights Commission is a multifunction program which demonstrates its commitment to human rights for all the citizens of Onondaga County. This commission responds to requests for information and provides other forms of assistance for community members in relation to human and civil rights concerns, investigates allegations of discriminations, takes actions designed to promote cross-cultural understanding and alleviate intergroup conflict, and also educates the public on human and civil rights. As you read their prepared annual report, you will see the dedication and commitment to the work that this commission does on behalf of the citizens who live in our county. I look forward to the commission's continued work in the upcoming year. So in the report, if you could turn very quickly to page 5. Here, what we did was we broke down the number of calls that we received for the year 2020. As you can see, the majority of our calls is to deal with police misconduct, mental health calls, crime, attorney, referrals, family court. We are seeing an uptick currently with mental health calls, people in crisis in regards to their loved ones that are housed in our justice center. So we're starting to see that. One of the things I'm most proud of, we have been able to, with the staff that I have, maneuver through, since 2016, we have received the most calls to date, and we have answered every single call and gotten back to every single person. We're very proud of everything that everyone in this department is doing on behalf of the citizens in Onondaga County, and we look forward to continuing that work. As you all may or may not know, I have revamped a little bit the commission and what their duties are and what their responsibilities are going to be moving forward. When I came on, one of the things that I thought that they could do better and improve upon was getting more out in the community, especially in a time when we were dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the civil unrest. So there was a lot of work that they were doing. And also they were beginning to be very strategic. And when people are applying to be on the Human Rights Commissions, we're looking at all members of our community to be represented on this commission and working together with other agencies who are out there doing the work. And so this commission to date is moving forward with that. They have already scheduled 4 public hearings already in the community to deal with some of the mental health issues, some of the understanding COVID-19 and the vaccination, why it's important that we all get vaccinated, trying to dispel some of the myths that are out there, especially in the African and American communities. So we're very proud, we're very excited, and thank you.
Great, thank you. We appreciate it very much, and appreciate you being here, and appreciate the work you're doing in the report. And
Thank you.
look forward to hearing more from you.
Absolutely.
All right, then. Let's leave that there and let's move on then. Let's move on to 8, Law Department Settlement of Action.
Good morning, legislators. The resolution you guys are considering concerns pending litigation. So I would therefore recommend that this be discussed in executive session.
Thank you, Ben. Well, I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing proposed pending or current litigation. If the clerk could call the roll.
Legislators Burtis,
I think we need a second, don't we?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's
I'll second.
Legislator Ryan, second. Yes, now if we could call the roll. Thank you.
legislators Burtis,
Yes.
May,
Yes.
Rowley,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Irvin.
Yes.
7 ayes, none opposed.
Thank you.
This committee will now enter into executive session.
Very good.
Okay.
You back?
Yes. Was there a motion made?
Yes, a motion was made by Legislator Ryan, seconded by Leader Irvin to exit executive session and enter regular session. Was passed unanimously. Motion was carried. Let me state for the record, there were no motions or actions taken during the executive session.
Okay.
Okay. Are you opening the door?
Is there a vote on the resolution?
Sorry?
Were you doing a vote on the resolution?
Yes.
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Chairman, do you want a vote on the resolution? I think now it can just go to.
Yeah, we could just continue.
It can go to session for a vote then.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's just leave it there. And I would look to, at this point, I would like to ask if there is a motion to adjourn. And I understand Legislator Ryan has a question, but at this point, I'd like to stop the meeting. So is there a motion to adjourn? I'll get you in a minute, Mr. Ryan. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Are we going to adjourn before I ask the question?
That was my intention, yeah. So if those folks wanted to leave, they could leave. Yeah, I've got a first by Legislator Rowley. Is there a second?
No.
Well, that's how I wanted to do it.
Basically, the agenda is done. We'll adjourn the meeting, and then you can ask questions.
Isn't that right? Yeah. Is there a second?
Well, wait.
A second, Mr. Chairman.
Wait. Does it have to do with the committee
No.
meeting?
Oh, no, he's talking Oh, he already stated earlier, Tim, he wanted to ask a question about sales tax to finance. And
Yeah, but if you have a quorum or more, you can't adjourn the meeting if you're going to continue to discuss an issue that is related to public business.
Okay, sorry.
It's still a public meeting, so if you were going to have discussion about a public topic with a quorum of the committee, then I don't think we should adjourn yet. Is this going to be a long discussion, or is just?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It could be. I didn't want to hold everybody up.
Well, everybody could leave.
Yeah. People could leave.
Okay.
Unless law has a different opinion. I see Yvette's on.
No, that's fine. I think so. That's fine. So let's. So go ahead, legislator.
Yeah, so listen, I'm not a big. I'm not.
The question.
Yeah, it's not a big conspiracy. I'm just wondering because last month or the month before, there were questions regarding how we were trending on sales tax, also state aid reduction budgeted versus what we might actually realize, and also the potential for stimulus money or federal grant money. And I just was wondering the overall picture about how we're gonna end and just get a pretty clear financial picture as to where we're headed, I guess. So the question is, how are we as we close the books on 2020? We had talked about having to take, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, a $20 million out of surplus. Do we still have to do that, or did sales tax receipts increase? And if they did, what is the net increase, and where will that additional revenue go to?
Well, yeah, I'm not really prepared to report out on year end yet. We just, I know there's some entries as recent as last week. So we've been working with Marty and his team, trying to get everything in and officially close so, they can get moving and working on the financial statements. I could give you some high level, the forecast we brought over during the budget had us ending the year with a deficit of $18 million, not 20. So that was the projection when we brought the budget over last fall. Sales tax in that projection was projected at to end the year at -7%. I do know that we ended not at -7, but at -2.5%. So sales tax did end better than anticipated. But that's just one facet of the finances. As you know, Chris, there's a lot of other pieces in there that, impact how we end from a global perspective. So certainly sales tax ended better than originally anticipated. But we're, like I said, I think we're close to finally closing. But, I'm not prepared at this point really to report out in any detail how we ended the year. Hopefully that'll happen soon.
So if we ended it, if the projection was 7% we're going to close in somewhere by 2.5%. What's the dollars behind that? And then that would be, not only will we not have to take the 20 million or 18 out of fund balance to balance it, but we would actually have that 18 correct, in addition to the difference between 7 to 2.5, whatever that is.
Yeah, but again, like I said, sales tax isn't the only thing that impacts how we end the year. It's the general funds, shy of $1 billion, but there's a lot of moving pieces there.
Well, there may be some additional.
Just because sales tax ended better than anticipated doesn't mean that's going to impact, the projection. There's many other things, obviously, that will impact the projection. I can tell you the adopted budget county share for 2020 in sales tax was 286 million. We ended with county share actual for 2020 in sales tax at 270 million. So it was a $16 million miss from a sales tax perspective. Now, that was better than we were projecting throughout the year, but still a big amount of money, obviously. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt Chris if you had more questions, but I was going to suggest to the committee and Chris, because I think we're on an interesting track here to actually discuss this and really get our heads around where we finish. I'd like to maybe suggest or request that we put this on the agenda for the next meeting. At that point, I think we could fill in a lot of blanks. I'm hoping Steve can fill in a lot of blanks. Is that doable, Steve Morgan?
yeah, I mean, I think, I typically talk about how we ended the previous year when I report out on first quarter forecast, Brian. But I don't see any reason why we couldn't have an item for April Ways and Means to debrief.
I was thinking, yeah, I mean, look at
that work.
How many times are we talking about unprecedented things in 2020? This is certainly one of them.
Yep.
Legislator Ryan's asking some good questions here. I think we're.
I just don't think we're ready to do it yet. And I think, another, when's Ways and Means in April?
We are
end of the month.
Yeah.
End of the, and we're going to move it to April 27th for April Ways and Means. So do you think you have information put together?
Yeah, I think that, I think from my perspective, at least, I don't want to speak for Marty, but I think from my perspective, I think the books will be certainly in shape to be able to give a summation and a report out on how 2020 ended.
Great. Thank you.
And if I could, if I would like to, so including, I don't want to take anybody, I want to try intentionally throw curveballs here, but if we could, right, as Steve, so I don't know what the implications are possibly on state aid too, right? So I think that we'll be talking about that, there's going to be budgeted versus actuals. I'd like to know what that would be, what type of revenue that will be, or I guess because anything additional to what we had budgeted in this year's budget is good, right? It will be to the good. If we could quantify that, obviously, then hopefully by then we'll get a clearer picture of Albany. I think we'll be anywhere from 0% to 5%, which is a much better picture than the 20% that we had predicted, right? So,
now you're talking about the 2021 budget. So
you're
starting to converge things, but certainly, we could certainly, give a report out on 2020 by April Ways and Means. And certainly we can, talk about, I don't think I'll have the first quarter forecast done by then for the current year. So that might need to wait, but we'll see what comes. We'll see if we can get it together.
Yeah. But I think it's important for every legislator to understand, right? So not understand to know where we're headed, what the changes and implications that Albany configured as to how it's going to impact the 2021 budget. I think it's all part of it, right? We're unprecedented 2020 into 21. 2020 is looking different than what we had anticipated, as is the budgetary implications on 2021. So I think I'm looking to have so we're all in this together, right? So I'm trying to look at how it's going to impact us going forward. And so we have a true picture of what the financial picture looks like and how we can work through that in 2021. And if there is additional revenues, if we don't have to take as much money out of surplus to balance the budget, what is it? How much is it? And what is the best course of action for that? As I said before, I've said it once, I've said it twice, I'll say it the third time. I don't think putting that back into surplus is a good idea. I think that we should utilize that to do various things. I won't get into it. I'll wait till next month. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So we're pushing it to next month. My only job here is to keep the agenda was my main concern and not get off on side tangents. All of that could have been discussed with Steve Morgan, but yes, I understand. And it's on everybody's mind for sure. So we're all interested in questioning what's going on. So we'll move that to next month. Appreciate it. And I'd like to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn? Anyone?
Moved.
Leader May, is there a second?
Second.
Leader Urban. We call the roll.
Legislators Burtis,
Yes.
May,
Yes.
Rowley, Ryan,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Williams, Irvin,
Yes.
5 ayes, 2 absent.
Thank you. We're adjourned.